Buenos dias. So I know I have a beautiful singing voice. That's probably why you come to this channel. Not for video game stuff, but if you're here for video game stuff, hey, not only is there singing, but there's also video game stuff. There's a couple stories going on that I definitely want to cover. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share on the video if you really enjoyed it. And without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games and a little bit of a follow-up to the Square-Enix situation from yesterday, because I don't know what Square's doing, man. I don't know what Square is doing. Essentially, if you didn't watch yesterday's video, which you should because it's a little bit of a better breakdown, Square-Enix sold off all of their Western studios, such as Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, all these different places, and sold off a lot of IPs with this as well, such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and it was just a really weird situation because Square-Enix as a company, like I said, it's not necessarily been like smooth sailing for them lately. You know, they had a lot of good years, but now there's been a lot of highs and been a lot of lows. There's been a lot of games that just fell completely flat on their face, such as Balan Wonderworld, which was partially their fault. If you watch the video that I made talking about Balan and the whole situation with Yuji Naka, you also, of course, had Babylon's Fall, which was a game that, I mean, nobody asked for it. But getting rid of a lot of your Western studios, pretty much all of them, was a questionable decision. But it seems like now there's talk around the water cooler about Square Enix as a full company being sold off. We've been seeing this a lot with companies, and really, I know a lot of people say, oh, well, that's far-fetched. You know, that's not going to happen. But when you're talking about Activision Blizzard getting sold off, when you're talking about, you know, Bungie getting sold off, when you're talking about Bethesda getting sold off, I don't think you could leave anything potentially on the table because these companies are huge companies. And obviously your main two competitors who are buying these companies, such as Sony and Microsoft, are willing to spend the big bucks. So the rumor mill is now circulating saying that Sony is looking to buy Square Enix. And that's why Square Enix got rid of essentially 1,000+ employees. That's why they got rid of all these Western studios, was to make them a more attractive offer in terms of people wanting to buy them. And really, Sony would be the company that makes sense. I mean, yes, a lot of Square Enix games do come to the Xbox brand, but that's not where they make their money. They make their money pretty much on Sony and Nintendo related releases because those are the most diehard fans. I don't see Nintendo wanting to buy a company right now unless it's an in-house company like we've seen with Next Level Games. So Sony is really the only person on the block where you could be like, hey, you know, this kind of makes sense. You know, obviously the relationship between Sony and Square Enix dates all the way back to the PlayStation 1, where Squaresoft was dominant on the PlayStation 1. They were essentially like a first party studio, really, because all they were making was games on the PlayStation 1. So, you know, it's pretty much just a rumor right now. It's pretty much just speculation. But if it does happen, I know that a lot of people are freaking out because they're like, well, what happens with Nintendo stuff? Are they still going to release games for the Nintendo Switch? I think it would be a situation where you kind of have to. Like, you could have Square Enix make exclusives for the PlayStation 5 to sort of pigeonhole the Xbox, but I don't feel like you can abandon the Nintendo Switch audience because so many games on there do pretty well, you know, all things considered, such as like Octopath Traveler and whatnot. You know, there's obviously a large market for Square Enix games on the platform, but something's going on. Something, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, like I always say, and getting rid of all of your Western studios doesn't make sense, especially considering you didn't sell it for all that much, around $300 million. So I think there's a bigger story happening with this. That's what the talk is around the water cooler. What do you think? Do you think Sony is going to make a play on Square Enix? If not, what company is going to make a play? Let me know in the comments down below. Before we get into the next part of our video, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor for this video, AG1 Athletic Greens. What is it? Glad you asked. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm not exactly the healthiest person in the world, but I'm trying to change that. I'm working out every day. I'm trying to eat a little bit cleaner. I'm smoking less cigarettes, but sometimes you need something a little bit more to give you that boost throughout the day. And that's where the AG1 by Athletic Greens comes into play. The AG1 by Athletic Greens is a simple to use nutritional drink that literally takes seconds to prepare but gives you 9 health products in one, giving you the equivalent of a multivitamin, minerals, probiotics, and much more. It's easy to use that even an idiot like me can manage. You take a scoop, you put it in the shaker, you add some water, you shake that bad boy like a salt shaker with your favorite dance moves, and then drink it down, providing a pretty tasty drink that is actually good for you. AG1 provides you with probiotics to improve your gut health, energy and endurance vitamins such as B12 and zinc to keep you going throughout the day, and so much more. And right now, by using the link in the description box down below, you can get a 1-year supply of immune supporting D3, K2, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase of the AG1. You can't put a price on your health, you only got one life to live, so why not enhance it by using the AG1 by Athletic Greens? And a huge thank you to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this video. And finally, Zelda and the Nintendo Switch is obviously a very hot topic because, I mean, Zelda's pretty popular. I don't know if you've been around for a while, but people really seem to enjoy the Legend of Zelda games. Now, we've been talking a lot about Zelda on the channel, mostly talking about what Zelda game is potentially coming to the Switch in 2022. But beyond that, we of course had The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 coming in 2023. And there's a leak that's happening with this game that's absolutely crazy, especially if you're into the story and the Hyrule history sort of side of things, trying to make up the timeline and whatnot, trying to get any clues about this game that you can get, because obviously it's been very minimal. Like, you have to sit there and analyze the trailer for 30 minutes, even though the trailer itself is only like a minute and change long. I'm not the type of person to do that. I'll just look at things on the strictly surface level and then go about my day to see if this is a game that, you know, resonates with me or whatnot. But I'm going to tiptoe around this. I'm not going to completely spoil it. The information is out there should you guys want to choose to seek it out, but I'm going to tiptoe around it, just give you the general gist of it without really spoiling anything as far as actual characters are concerned, so don't be worried about that. But it does cause a bit of an interesting discussion about Breath of the Wild 2 and the potential storyline for the game. So this information is coming to us from Emmanuel from Lega Hyrule, which is an Italian Zelda fan community. Emmanuel. And basically he talked with one of the voice actors from the original Breath of the Wild game. This is a confirmed thing. This person played a character that was an upper tier character in the game. I'm not going to say the names and stuff like that, but they were definitely an upper tier character for the game in the Italian voice acted version of the game. So they know what they're talking about. We have a confirmation of this individual's name, a confirmation of the character that a person played in the original game. So there's definitely some meat to this. There's definitely some substance to this. Well, basically they said that they are returning in Breath of the Wild 2 and that they're playing an ancestor of the original character that they played. Essentially, you know, an ancestor meaning that the character that they played in the original game kind of was killed off, so they're playing an ancestor. Now, right then and there, you have to raise some questions, because why would you use the same voice actor for a character that, you know, more than likely isn't going to be in the first game? You know, you want to sort of captivate that feeling of that character, obviously, that you're sort of reminiscing back to. But if this character was essentially left for dead, and as far as we know, not a character in the secondary game, what sort of ancestor are we talking about? What's the timeline for this game? Because one of the things that a lot of people feel like is going to be in Breath of the Wild 2 is, of course, some sort of time travel mechanic or some sort of time shifting mechanic. Like maybe we saw in Ocarina of Time, where you play as a child Link and like an upper teen Link in the game. And it really sort of changed not only Link as a character, but it changed the world around him. It changed the characters around him and made for just an incredible experience, I feel, with the original Ocarina of Time. So why is this person being brought back to do a voice of a character that was essentially killed off, and this is just the ancestor? Well, later on in this interview, they actually gave yet another little bit of interesting information, saying that they are actually doing the character that was thought to be killed off in the sequel too, because, you know, this character was in the afterlife during the events of Breath of the Wild 1. So is this a ghost? Is this a ghost? Like, if you're doing the character once again, obviously there's some more meat to this than originally meets the eye. And once again, it goes back to sort of the whole time travel thing. You know, where does this game take place? Like, we're assuming it's a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, taking place after the events of that game, because of the fact that, of course, we had games like, what the hell was it called? What was the Zelda game called? The Koei Tecmo one that I didn't really like because it had performance issues. I'm drawing an absolute blank right now. I'm drawing an absolute blank. You know the game I'm talking about. That game, of course, took place before the events of Breath of the Wild, kind of leading up to it. So how is this going to play a role in the game. If this character is essentially voice acting two characters, one from the original game that we thought was died off and was in the afterlife, and an ancestor version of this character from, we're assuming, the past, but it could be the future as well. He's gonna take you back to the past to play the shitty Zelda games that suck ass. Now, obviously, that's a little AVGN reference there, but I think it's very interesting because that's really, like I said, we don't know a lot about Breath of the Wild 2. Really, we've just seen surface level stuff with the game, and you can sit there and analyze the trailers, but beyond that, there's a lot of mystery surrounding this game that's allegedly now coming out in 2023. So what characters are going to be returning? What's going to be different about the game? And will there be this sort of time travel, time shifting mechanic in the game? Because I think all signs sort of point to yes, especially when you take this information and sort of process it and think about it from a logical perspective. Now, maybe, I guess there is the off chance that there could be a flashback to this person playing the character in Breath of the Wild 1, and that's why they're voice acting them again. But it seems like it's a little bit more than that. It seems like this character will be there in some way, shape, or form. Like I said, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but the information is definitely out there. But I feel like you could take what was said in the information and then kind of, you know, avoid which character it actually is if you want to do that, which I think is an important thing, and then sort of make your own logic, sort of make your own reasoning for why this character would essentially be returning in some sort of capacity. So I don't know, man. I think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to have a lot of secrets. I think it's going to have a lot of different things than we saw in the first game, because the first game was a pretty straightforward game. You know, it was a pretty straightforward game in terms of the story. Yes, there were some twists and turns there, but you know, everything took place in a very contained sort of thing. And I think you're going to see a lot more expansion of the world of Hyrule, of the land of Hyrule, as they say, in this version of the game. So I just wanted to bring this to your guys' attention. It's always fun to talk about Zelda stuff. I love Zelda games. Like, I don't know, I just love them. I just love them. I just think they're fun. And, you know, there's been good ones, there's been bad ones, there's ones that you love that I'm not too keen on, there's games that I love that you're not too keen on, but that's the beauty of it, because there's so many different Zelda style games to play. But I think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be really special, and this information definitely has my interest peaked as far as, you know, how does this person return? What is this person actually doing? So what do you think? Do you think there's going to be a big emphasis on time, potentially time shifting, some sort of mechanic as far as that concerned? Do you think it's going to be like Ocarina style, where like you play as two different versions of Link? Or is it going to be more of a just a, you know, in the future thing, in the past thing? I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities. Let me know in the comments down below. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to give me your feedback in the comments section down below. Do you think Sony is buying Square-Enix? Would it be a smart decision for them? Because, I mean, they do play well nicely with each other, so how would that whole thing play out? And Breath of the Wild 2 potential spoilers. What do you think about them? Do you think that, you know, what do you think the timeline is going to be in this game? How do you think the game is going to play out? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Huge thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Check out the link in the description box down below. Seriously, I use it every day. It definitely helps me out because I'm trying to get healthier. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.